Hello, we're at KubeCon in Detroit 2022, and I'm here with Shardul.
Hi everyone, this is Shardul from AWS. I'm a partner solutions architect focusing on IoT and containers. I'm here with Ferran, who is with Ondat. He's a solutions architect there as well. And let's hear a little bit about him.
Yeah, thank you. So I'm a solutions architect with a background on platform engineering, and actually we wanted to have a conversation today with our friends at Amazon to discuss a bit of where things are going. We're going to cover a few topics, like maybe we're going to talk about Edge, we're going to talk about EKS Anywhere, and discuss a bit. We're just going to have a conversation and see where that leads and get your opinion actually on a few things. So yeah, I would like to ask you, you've been working at Amazon for a while, and I would like to know what are your thoughts on the edge. We see a lot of trend this time in KubeCon on edge computing and different architectures and these things, and I would actually like to know your opinion on where you see things going actually.
When it comes to the edge, I think it's important because we're at a CNCF event that we use their statistics. They reckon that by about 2025, cloud edge computing or just processing on the edge will overtake cloud computing as a way of compute, as a way of data processing, and as a way of interacting with computing as a whole. And what that really means in terms of long-term and sustainability is that we actually, with the developments in ARM and with the developments in reduced instruction set computing itself, that we'll see great leaps in computing efficiency rather than raw compute power, and that lets us ideally in a sustainable world target a richer experience without necessarily increasing our energy consumption as a whole. Ferran, what do you think about that, and how do you think Ondat and the storage at the edge kind of comes into play here?
That is actually really interesting insight. I find this really curious because we've been working for the last 6 months into giving support for ARM. So we are actually the only storage-defined software platform that can do that. So we are already executing this at testing, and it's quite exciting because we build this based on the premise that actually we have people asking for this a lot. So we have people that saying, I want smaller clusters, I want to run them with less resources, I don't need that much compute power, what I need is efficiency, and what I need is a storage provider that actually can give me that. So we've been working for months on this, and actually I'm very excited to say that it's paying, because we're close to be able to support that architecture. We see Amazon with the Graviton project. We see a lot of people in KubeCon this time really pushing for this. And I guess there is also a cost implication into this. It's way cheaper, less energy consumption, and in the end, taking Kubernetes not only to the big clusters with a lot of compute, but also distribute the clusters and in the location and the responsibilities of the cluster. We're seeing this a lot with our customers, that more and more we have less big clusters, less amount of nodes per cluster, and more clusters, more smaller ones that are directed at specific jobs. So yeah, this is really interesting, and yeah, thank you for the insight. I would like to start maybe or to ask you about EKS Anywhere. EKS Anywhere is a project that I'm quite excited about because it's taking the cloud or the cloud software into the bare metal, and we see a lot of customers in that situation where the cloud gives them all the flexibility that they need, but at the same time they want to keep running some workloads bare metal, and it closes the gap. So what are your thoughts on these, and what do you think?
Actually, one of the key points of EKS Anywhere is so you have Kubernetes. Obviously, you've started migrating. You have a comprehensive understanding of Kubernetes. You're familiar with it, but now you look back and you have millions, billions, maybe invested in on-premises infrastructure, and you want to use all of that. You just don't want to let it all go. You don't want to. Maybe you have some leads or you have something else. But you want to reuse that compute power that you have access to. How do you do that? Well, EKS Anywhere. Set up a cluster, bootstrap your environment, and you're ready to go. using the standard tools that you've now become used to with EKS, with the flexibility and with the potential of being anywhere. And now, a second aspect of looking at it is you've used Kubernetes to scale up. You're at a global level, now you have to comply with privacy laws, say in Germany, in California, in India even. And they're explicitly saying the end customer's data must reside in country. A wonderful way to do that and to enforce that is to have on-premises data centers in those respective countries or those respective regions, and just run EKS anywhere clusters on them. For me personally, a very unique use case for EKS Anywhere is the edge. Again, coming back to it. Currently, I know EKS Anywhere doesn't support ARM, but this is me personally hoping that comes. But yeah, imagine if you could use your EKS chops to deploy your stateful workloads using Ondat to the edge, and just scale that way as well.
Well, yeah, that's actually really interesting, because it's one of these technologies that I think is a breakthrough in the industry, because there is a lot of compound technology and compound changes that happen to technology. This is the first time that actually we're seeing EKS Anywhere for a few months, maybe a year, but actually it's starting to become mature. So it's VMware now support, and it closes this gap. But actually, I see this coming next year. In the next few years, I can see a lot of push for this, and I have the impression that Amazon is gonna give a lot of support, as you're saying, for edge. It's really nice. And actually, what I envision is for us to be that storage layer that comes on an EKS Anywhere cluster. So you could have certain things that are required for any cluster. And one of the things I like thinking about this is you need this, but you don't really are supposed to need to know all this. So you're not supposed to need to know that you have these requirements or this software. So what I think is very interesting here is saying, okay, EKS Anywhere, deploying my machines. I don't want to have to configure anything. I have my network set up, my storage set up, my CI/CD set up, all my connectivity to the Amazon web servers to be able to handle the control planes, and all that is what I envision for us as Ondat to be in that situation. This is something that we've been working for 4 or 5 years now, so it's a technology that is difficult, but it has a lot of evolution into it. We've done a lot of work to it, and we are at that point where we have a rock solid piece of software that actually works really great. And I envision this capacity to go from one cluster, take a click, and on your edge cluster or on your regional clusters on bare metal, just deploy everything you need. It comes and it bootstraps whatever we need. And coming into that, it's a bit of, I guess, of a history, going back a bit in time, is where are we going, right? Is the future of EKS Anywhere and platforms that are breaking the gap in between cloud and bare metal. And that actually reminds me, when I started that on that quite a few years ago, where things were, where things were and where we are now, where at that time we were building storage for containers, but containers were a thing where Kubernetes was not even a thing. And now we're in this point where Kubernetes is everything. And actually this is really cool that we are in the next level of innovation towards that space. So, where do you see things going from here? Do you see EKS Anywhere dominating or a hybrid architecture maybe? Where do you think the user, the customers are actually going?
So that's actually a very interesting question. I personally imagine that customers who need it will transition to a hybrid model. Essentially, some of their clusters running in the cloud, some of them running on premises. And I think a key point to note here is AWS Outposts. When you need edge workloads, it's almost easier to have an outpost that's closer to your user, so that you can deliver your experiences or your your product to them efficiently by simply being closer to the end user. Um, but to that end, AKS Anywhere is obviously a huge step in getting the power of Kubernetes and the power of managed Kubernetes anywhere.
Nice.
Yeah. Actually, if you don't mind me asking, what does your day-to-day look like?
Sure. So, yeah, that's a good one. So, as now I'm working as solution architect, my principal role is actually make things happen for our customers and users. So, in our customer success team, we are the people that are breaking that space in between users and customers and engineering and roadmap. So my day-to-day is actually talking to customers and trying to understand what are their problems and what they're doing. And this is something that over the period of 3-4 years has been incredibly useful to build a product, because we get constant feedback to understand what is actually needed and where we should go. And I find that actually really engaging. I really enjoy that. Sometimes like, oh, we need to solve problems. Sometimes we just need to go and deploy some clusters, see where things are. And in this particular case, for instance, for research and development, is okay, what's coming? We need to be ready by the time that our customers actually need that or want that to evaluate, so we are already there, you know? And that's just, you know, we have learned a lot over time, because, you know, initially we followed a model of development where we would follow the Kubernetes way, which was a lot of reconciliation loop, a lot of eventually converging into a state. And that is great for many applications, but actually for storage doesn't work that well, because either a thing is either mounted, a volume is either mounted or not mounted, attached or not attached. So one of the lessons that we actually learned over time was that our customers could not tolerate or live with that eventual consistency of a state when it comes to storage. They do that and they love that for stateless applications and for their workloads. But when it comes to state, we learned that we need to build it differently. And actually we did. So we re-implemented a big component of our software that actually was designed to be extremely strong consistent on an extremely predictable fashion. So for instance, if a volume is attached and you need to fail it over, there is no eventuality into it. It's either failing over or not. And this is something that we have learned the hard way. And so we are in the position now of having something really rock solid because of that. So yeah, it's actually really, really exciting about it. So yeah, I don't want to take too much time of you. So I really, really thank you and appreciate you coming. Is there anything you want to know? I actually like to know, what do you do, you know, in a day-to-day, coming back to your question?
On a day-to-day basis, I'm mostly talking to partners like Ondat, understanding what their customers need and how we as AWS and Ondat as our partners can best meet the customer demand, and not just the demand, but their overarching need. The beauty is in understanding the use case and not just the technology. And where I come in is to build that relation between AWS, the partners, and of course keeping the end customer in mind, and understanding their end use case, and to essentially bring them all together. Bring AWS's infrastructure, bring partners like Ondat's expertise, and the customer's business case. That's my everyday.
Well, again, thank you for coming with us and really enjoy, you know, your insight.
Cool.